Hey guys, hope you're all doing great. I'm Hoodie, and today we're going to check out some Reddit stories together. And if you enjoy listening to Reddit stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The subreddit Bridezillas. The imperishable Roak. Boyfriend's sister now wants me to dye my hair to be a guest at her wedding. So to start this off, my boyfriend and I have been together for about a year now, and I'd say me and his family have been on decent terms. They are traditional, and I am alternative, but they accept their son's decision and are generally very polite with me. Issues began to arise, however, after his sister got engaged last fall. I had met her and interacted with her a few times at that point, and she had been generally nice to me. She told me that I was invited to the wedding, which I thought was very sweet, but little did I know what would entail. Her fiancé approached my boyfriend out of the blue and asked him to be a groomsman, to which he didn't give much of an answer. My boyfriend expressed to me later that he wanted to attend as a guest and really did not want to participate in the wedding itself. He has pretty bad anxiety, so that's understandable, and he ended up declining the offer. His sister was immediately not taking no for an answer and went as far as to send him the tux that he was going to need, despite him declining the offer. What was even more shocking was that the tux was going to be hundreds of dollars, and she wanted him to purchase it, not rent it. He once again stood his ground, and she went to their parents and had them attempt to confront him. They immediately brought me up and began blaming me for his decision, despite me obviously having no say, and he defended me while once again giving a firm no. Things were quiet on that subject for a while, until a few weeks later when she informed him that she would not be able to provide a dinner plate for me. They are still planning the wedding, and at that point it was over 8 months away. So there's no reason why I could not be accommodated for considering that I was invited. She claimed that I was still invited, but that she just couldn't accommodate an extra person. It was pretty obvious that I now wasn't welcome, so I was debating even putting the date on my calendar to go. But now there is a new installment to this saga. She sent my boyfriend a message out of the blue, telling him that I will need to dye my hair, and that there is now a dress code for guests. Everyone in attendance is expected to wear certain colors, burnt orange or green, and I am supposed to dye my hair black. If you have ever dyed your hair, you know how hard black is to remove, so that request is insanely unreasonable. My hair is usually a dark red, and is rarely vibrant, but that's beyond the point. I am not ruining my hair to accommodate to her guest rules, and the best that I could do is a wig, but I am honestly done at this point. My boyfriend respects my decision either way, and has got my back no matter what. But I am still just in awe, because I have never experienced this. I feel like it's 100% targeted, and I don't know how this will affect my relationship with his family going forward. I just needed to talk about this, and I'm wondering if anyone else has had this happen. Well, OP, you're most definitely in the right sub for that story, because your sister-in-law and your future brother-in-law, they're both acting like Zillas. A bridezilla and a groomzilla together. Look, man. You extended an invitation, and the person you've extended it to is not comfortable doing what you want them to do. So you need to back off, and that's it. If your sister-in-law wants your brother to participate, and he doesn't want to, and that's going to make him skip the wedding, that's on her and on the groom. They can't force people to do things that they don't want just to fit some aesthetic that they've got in their minds. That's crazy. And that goes for your ridiculous sister-in-law demanding that you dye your hair. Bottom line is I'd say, look, I'm happy to come as a guest and support you, but I'm not going to ruin my hair or spend money on a tug I'm only going to wear for your wedding. Period. And then they need to either deal with it or just not have you at their wedding. And it's that simple. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Opie's in post update. I have sent her a personal message detailing my boundaries and stating my requirements. This is what I said to her. Hi, I just wanted to shoot you a message and let you know that I heard from BF's name about your request for me to dye my hair for your wedding, and I find that to be too big of a commitment for just being a guest at a wedding. If I don't fit the intended aesthetic for your special day, then feel free to uninvite me. I was set to attend as his date, but I refused to make an alteration to my hair that could leave it damaged and unable to be dyed back to my desired color. I would be happy to wear a green or burnt orange dress, and I can be formal, but asking guests to dye their hair is an unreasonable and frankly disrespectful request. As I said before, you may uninvite me if you please, because I am not honoring that request. Of course, instead of responding, she brought her entire family into it. My boyfriend is absolutely livid that she spread my message around and is making a big deal about it and isn't speaking to her right now. His parents tried to get aggressive with him about it, and he told them that if they want to come to our wedding in the future, that they have to shave their eyebrows off and dye their hair green so they can see how it feels to be asked to alter their appearance like that. His sister is still being petty about it, so who knows what will happen going forward, but nonetheless I have been firm with my boundaries. She apparently sorted out the dinner plate situation, but just didn't tell us for months, so I do in fact have food if I go, but I doubt that I will. Honestly, this whole story just made me tired for Opie. At first it sounds like small wedding drama, but the more it goes on, the clearer it becomes that this wasn't about hair or dresses at all. It was about control. Every time someone said no, it was ignored, pushed, or turned into blame. The hair request genuinely shocked me. Asking a guest to permanently change their appearance just to fit an aesthetic feels so invasive and unnecessary. And the fact that Opie handled it calmly, only to have her message spread around the family, makes it even worse. What really saved this story for me was the boyfriend. He stood his ground, defended her, and didn't sacrifice her comfort just to keep the peace. That matters more than anything. Reading this didn't make me angry. It made me relieved that Opie trusted her instincts and set boundaries early. Because if this is how they act over a wedding, it's a glimpse of what the future could look like. Now, let's move on to the next post. The subreddit Am I the Asshole? PSL_23. Am I the asshole for returning my stepson's belongings to his mother's house? I, 35 female, have known my fiancé, 41 male, for 7 years. We have 2 ours children, 4 male, 1 female, and my fiancé has a son, 10 male, from his previous marriage. I met his son, who I call my stepson even though we are not technically married, when he was 4. Since I've been around, my fiancé and his ex have been using a simple strategy to send stepsons belonging back and forth between the 2 houses. My fiancé used to pack a backpack with anything that his son needed for the next few days, school supplies, sports gear, clothing, and drop it off with his son at school. His ex would pick up their son, keep anything that belonged at her house, and return anything that belonged to us on the next drop-off day. Easy. Over the years, stepson's mother has sent disparaging texts accusing us of keeping the clothing that she buys for him at our house too long. She says he never has enough clothes there, and she wants us to send everything back ASAP even if it is not clean yet. My fiancé has refused to care that she has made this request, so usually the task falls on my shoulders. I wash laundry religiously and make sure to pack and label a bag with all of the clothing she has requested, and I place it in stepson's backpack. I usually ask my stepson to make sure he takes the clothing out of his backpack when he returns to his mother's house, because she forgets to check his backpack. Today, both my stepson and my 4-year-old had basketball practice at the Young Men's Christian Association. My stepson was scheduled to be with his mother for the weekend, but on Saturdays, she always brings him up to the Young Men's Christian Association for a few hours so he can play, and then he goes back to her place. On our way out, I grabbed a jacket that my stepson had left behind. It belonged to his mother's house. Since we were going to see him, I thought it would be easier to return it now. I also figured he would show up to the gym without a coat on a cold day, because his mother rarely dresses him appropriately for the weather. When we fiancé, me, our 2 kids, get into the car, my fiancé sees me holding the jacket and loses it on me. He tore into me about how I was immature, petty, and rude for sending all of his son's clothing away from our house. He said I have been doing it for years because I hate to see anything at our house that my stepson's mother has bought. He said I was making our stepson feel like he wasn't welcome in our home, and that it was an unfair burden for a 10 years old to have to make sure all of his belongings are returned back to their respective houses several times per week. I actually agree with that last point. I've been saying for years this schlepping feels unfair to the boy. I told my fiancé he was the asshole for blowing up on me in front of our kids. I told him that if I was the asshole, Then he and his ex were too, because I was just following a system they started. I told him it was way too easy for him to see me in a negative light, instead of becoming curious about why I was so adamant about returning his son's belongings quickly. I also told him that he was now solely responsible for managing his son's belongings, because I didn't need the drama tied to it, and I didn't need to be unfairly painted as a wicked stepmother. Oh, and my stepson definitely showed up to the Young Men's Christian Association without a coat. He was cold. He also let us know the coat I grabbed was actually his mother's. She had let him borrow it, but she wanted it back, because her new husband just gifted it to her recently. I'm struggling to see how I am the asshole. Am I? Both my fiancé and his ex have called me the asshole for many reasons since I've been in this relationship. Help, please. Well, OP, based on the story alone, you were not being petty or unkind. You were following a system that your fiancé and his ex created, and you were trying to avoid conflict that you had already been blamed for in the past. You weren't sending your stepson's things away because you didn't want him in your home. You were trying to keep the peace with someone who had already accused you of keeping her child's belongings. That matters. What really doesn't sit right here is how fast your fiancé jumped to assuming bad intentions instead of asking why you were doing what you were doing. Blowing up at you in front of the kids and painting you as the wicked stepmom says more about unresolved resentment than about a jacket in a car. And you're right. Expecting a 10-year-old to manage adult co-parenting logistics is unfair. This whole setup was broken long before that argument in the parking lot. You didn't create the mess. You were just the one trying to manage it. And while the argument over the jacket already felt unfair and emotionally charged, the update reveals that this was never just about co-parenting tension. It was the surface of a much deeper and far more dangerous situation. And now, here's the update from the original poster. I am currently sitting alone in my roach-infested apartment that I reluctantly signed a lease for in August 2025. My ex-fiancé, and father of my children, launched several verbal, physical, and sexual assaults on me from January through July of 2025. These assaults became more frequent in the summer months, until they were happening every week or multiple times a week. Sometimes they occurred in front of our children. My son has had several bruises from excessive corporal punishment by his father, and my daughter bruised her right eye after falling off of a couch when her father locked me in a bathroom with him. He would constantly rage and tell me we were not together, to take off my ring and leave his house if he felt I was disrespectful to him. I have audio of him assaulting me because I knew that no one would believe me if I came forward about what was happening in our house. He threatened to call his lawyer to evict me, and told me he would rather be a single dad half of the time than to live with me. He tried to make me agree to do a 50-50 child custody agreement with his lawyer while I lived in his house, and do a financial agreement to pay one half of the bills while we figured out if we would stay together or if I had to move out. I made 30% of what he made at the time. Of course, I declined his offer, which made him volatile, and he decided to lock my kids in a car and try to drive away with them, because I didn't want to move out and leave my children in his care. I tried several times to get his parents to intervene, but they told me that they did not believe me and advised him to get me kicked out through the use of his lawyer. I ended up getting an order of protection against him using an audio of one of his assaults on me. We went to court, and I initially was going to drop the order of protection, OP, against him, but he had his lawyer create an affidavit stating that I was mentally unfit to be a mother and that I was the aggressor in our relationship. I definitely reacted to him in ways I regret, but I was not the aggressor. I've never been a person who has initiated physical altercations. I'm 5'3", 100 pounds, and generally mild-mannered. He's 6'1", 205 pounds, and was previously an amateur boxer. He also binge drank and used party drugs to excess. After seeing the affidavit he filed, I decided to keep the order of protection in place and file my own motion about his abuse towards me and our children. This, of course, initiated a nasty legal battle over custody of the children, with me just fighting to keep them safe, and him fighting to get full/primary custody of the children. He even had me legally evicted from the house we lived in, which is why I am in this crappy apartment. Through this process, I also discovered that he filed a non-criminal police report against me 3 years ago when I was pregnant with our daughter. He started a physical altercation with me, and of course told the police I started it, but asked them not to arrest me because I was pregnant. They never came to our house. He simply filed a report for record keeping, unbeknownst to me. So when we went to court, the first one to have anything filed in regards to abuse was my ex, meaning that it took credibility away from my filings of his abuse towards me. Very sneaky play by him. Fast forward, I was priced out of court because lawyer bills are expensive, and I make barely over minimum wage. I had to drop the order of protection in favor of seeking family therapy to work through co-parenting and mediation to deal with the custody issues. And honestly, I still love the man and just wanted him to get clean and stop raging when he felt he didn't get sex or whatever else he was entitled to at the moment. Now I see that he has stopped drinking. He doesn't do drugs anymore, and he is going back to church. He also received a new prescription for anxiety, which has helped to calm him immensely. He has a new job paying a lot more money, and says he regrets the way he treated me and hates having his family living in 2 houses. He also still denies that he assaulted me, or our son, multiple times, but he leaves space to consider that I am telling the truth, and he agrees that his years of substance use have played a negative part in our current circumstances. I'm not sure what to make of this. I need full accountability from him for the harm he has caused, including in court, but he just won't admit to it. Even with my evidence, he won't be fully accountable. I'm aware that I have a very active trauma bond in place, and I have this hope that he could change because I hate being away from my kids for 50% of the time. I've loved this man for 8 years and have 2 young children with him. When he was good, he was wonderful, but when he was bad, I felt like I was with a complete strange. Well, OP, after reading the update, it becomes painfully clear that this was never about a jacket or co-parenting logistics. This was about a pattern of control, intimidation, and abuse that had already been happening behind closed doors. When someone can verbally, physically, and sexually abuse you, threaten custody, manipulate legal systems, and still turn around and call you the problem over something this small, that's not conflict, that's coercion. What breaks my heart here is that you're still questioning yourself even after everything you've been through. Trauma bonds are incredibly powerful, especially when there are children involved and the good times felt real and loving. But accountability doesn't look like partial apologies and lifestyle changes while still denying the harm. Real accountability means owning the damage, especially in court and in front of professionals. You didn't fail this relationship, you survived it. And the fact that you're still focused on protecting your kids, even while living in a place you never wanted to be, says everything about your strength. You deserve safety, stability, and peace, not just moments of calm between storms. All right, everyone, which story got you fired up the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thank you for spending your time with me. Your support genuinely means the world. Take care, much love, and I'll see you in the next one.